I come from New Zealand, and as a child I was always aware of a neighbour that had a leech kick wheel, and I was absolutely mesmerised by this process of what I thought was magic. And when I eventually left school, I was able to go to night school classes, as everybody did in New Zealand, to learn to make ceramics. And then I came to England after a few years, and I carried on with my ceramics at night school classes. I got made redundant from a job, and I was given money to do a retraining program of my choice. And as I lived quite close to Goldsmiths College, I went there, and from there I decided that I really liked the idea of agate ware, which is you introduce a colour into your clay. I mean, this relates very much to my music. As a performer, when you play a piece of music, if you play it again, it's never quite the same as you did the first time. And I sort of relate this with my ceramics, especially with agate ware. When you make a piece, you're not quite sure what you're going to get, which is part of the surprise. So in a sense, it's like a one-off piece, as a performance in music is a one-off performance. I like the clarity and the pureness of porcelain, especially when you polish it rather than glaze it, because you get this beautiful, beautiful, soft, stone-like effect, almost like marble without the shine. I kind of came to agate ware not intentionally, but it was something that I just dabbled with, and then people started to like it. So I thought, well, I'll experiment even more. I mean, there's so many different ways of actually adding colour to the work. So, and the way you add it determines the way it comes out onto the surface. What I tend to do is to mix 3 colours together in coils, then I sandwich the dark colour in between the 2 light colours, then I twist the coils and then re-roll them again, and then divide them up and cut them into pieces. Then I make like a piece of Battenberg cake, and then just very crudely knead that, and then throw that, and then you just get this mad swirl of colour. When I start to make a piece, I really compress the clay and bring it up and down quite a few times to make sure that the colour is actually well mixed into the clay. Then I open it out, just a small amount, because I'm going to make a cylindrical type of form. I want it to have some sort of shape rather than just a cylinder. So I tend to do the first 2 or 3 pulls using a sponge on the outside, because that really makes sure that the clay is well compressed. And then when I can, I then revert to my fingers. So I like to fine-tune it with my fingers. And then often I will actually use 2 ribs, a kidney on the inside and a flat surface metal tool on the outside. Purely by bringing that up, I'm getting rid of all the throwing marks and also revealing the colour as well. So that's the bottom section, and then I'll make the second section, which is the sort of the canopy for the bottle shape. And either I use it in white clay or a coloured clay from one of the colours that I've used in the agate ware. And then when I make the canopy, basically I'm making a very shallow bowl, and then I'll just throw the neck with a very small amount of clay, probably about, if I can talk ounces, about 8 ounces of clay. When I was learning ceramics, learning to throw, I was obsessed with movement. I love the sense of the rhythm and movement. And when I throw the rims of the necks, I just put a little spiral which kind of replicates a feeling of movement, and it just takes away this slight static feel that the pot is very, very clean with sharp edges, so it just has a little softness to it. And then the process is that I'll turn the base, the bottom section, and then I'll put the canopy part of the bottle on the wheel and invert the main body of the pot on top of the canopy bit, and make that centered, and then I'll join that. Then I can turn the base completely. Invert it the other way, and then cut out a section and trim away the excess clay from the rim, add the neck to the bottle, trim it off, smooth it off with metal kidneys, and that's it. Once the pot has been biscuit fired, I then sand it with wet and dry sandpaper. I mean, unfortunately, I have to do this in my kitchen because I don't have running water in my studio. But if I have a lot of pots to sand, I'll often fill the bath up and just kneel at the bath with the bath full of water and full of pots waiting to be sanded. I use 2 grades of sandpaper, wet and dry sandpaper, a fairly coarse one just to get rid of all the sort of little grooves and marks that a turning tool will make. I then revert to a fine grade sandpaper and just go over it, just to make sure that's really, really nice and smooth. And then it's allowed to dry, and then I fire it to about 1280 degrees centigrade, and then I'll sand it again, because when you fire it, a certain amount does come out of the surface, or onto the surface. So I'll then just quickly sand over it again, just a rough sanding, just to make sure there's no nasty rough bits, and that's it.